Hi, it's Arnott here, and in this video I'm looking at a raw file, my very first look. So this is a friend's raw file who's asked me to have a look at this. I'm going to go over the ways that I would go about this photo. Now I've got to say straight away, it's a lovely natural photo. I wouldn't really do a lot with this, but there are a few things that really stand out, and straight away I can see in this area we've got a sensor spot, and we've probably got a few others in other locations. So the first thing I'm going to do is, in the develop mode, in Lightroom, I'm going to go to the dehaze and I'm going to push this all the way up to the right. And the only reason I'm doing that is because it brings out any nasty things like sensor spots and makes them easier to see. So if I look in this area, you can see this one stands out. There's a small one there, and I think the only other one is in this area at the top. So that's the first thing I'm going to deal with. So I'm going to go to the spot removal tool, one click, and I can move this around. That looks a bit better, I think. I'm going to hold down the space bar on the keyboard, and that just allows me to drag this back to the other areas. I quite often move this around to the position that I want. If it doesn't match up nice, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to click on the picture and return, and I'm going to double click on the dehaze slider to take it back to where we started from. So that's the first process. That's got rid of the sensor spots. Now, the person in question was talking about the sky. He wanted to enhance the sky a little bit and bring that out a little bit more. And it's quite easy to do, really. The highlights will bring down that quite a bit and bring out a little bit more of the sky. All the time I'm looking at this, I'm looking at the histogram and making sure that I'm not clipping too much in areas. Now I'll turn the whites up a little bit, making sure that I don't clip. I'm looking at this area. That will show me if I'm clipping in the whites, because that's really important. I don't want to lose any detail in that area. Okay, now the bottom of the image, we probably need to bring the shadows up in that area, but before we do that, let's just do a bit more work on the sky. So what I'm going to do is to use the gradiated filter, and I'm going to click and drag that down to about that area. Now what I'm going to do with this is, if I go to the top, I'm just going to drag that off the picture as such. And the reason I do that is because the gradient starts off very deep and I think it looks very unnatural. So I just drag it up off the picture. Now the exposure I want to bring down a little bit. So some of the settings are already on this. The shadows are tucked down a little bit. The highlights I'll bring down a little bit. I'll bring that down quite a bit, and I'm going to take the whites up so we just get a little bit more out of the clouds. So you can see that's starting to look there. I may bring the clarity up just a tiny bit. Maybe the dehaze, let's try that. That will give us a darker, but be very careful on the dehaze. That tends to add a little bit of noise and I don't like that. Saturation maybe, let's just try. Okay, I'm going to move this up slightly. Again, I don't want it too dark at the top. I just want to bring it out naturally. Now that, for the time being, for me is enough. Let's just take that off and look at the whole image. Now I'm going to bring the shadows up on the whole image, and look already the difference from what we started with I think that's almost everything I would do. I'm going to take this into Photoshop just to touch up a few other little areas. But I think that's looking really nice. What I may do is with the temperature and the tint, I'm going to take the tint up slightly to the right and just add very slightly, just add a little bit of red tint to that. That just gives a nicer effect in the sky and just takes down that green a little bit, because we've got all those trees in the foreground. It's a little bit overpowering. Now we're just getting a much nicer image. Okay, so let's take this into Photoshop. I'm going to right click on that, edit in Photoshop. I think with this type of photo you've got to be a little bit careful what you do. You can go over the top and it's a beautiful picture. There's no need to go over the top with this image at all. I'm working on a slow computer today, so apologies for the time it takes to load up. Okay, so there we go. Let's just double click on the hand tool and bring that up. I quite like that. What I would probably do is add a little bit of sharpening on this. It's a little bit soft. Not too much so, but we'll do that a little bit later because that's usually the last thing I do. The one thing I'm going to do is probably to see this shadow down here. These shadow areas. Let's see if we can put that right. So I'm going to use the lasso tool for that. The feather, I'm going to just add a very slight feather to that tool. Don't want to go too high because you've got sharp edges on these shadows that I want to bring up a little bit. So it's only this right hand bottom corner. I think this could be the shadow of the photographer, I'm not sure. But they just look a little bit unnatural, so that's what I'm trying to alter. So the feather, let's go with 10. And I'm going to draw over this area. I'm going to make sure this is on add to selection, which it is. So that second button at the top there. And I'm going to draw around this area. Okay, and this little bit at the bottom right, I've gone off the image there, which has made it jump off the screen. Let's just double click this hand tool, that will bring it back. Then go back to the one there. Let's start from the top. That will cause a problem then. So it's just these three areas that I think look a little bit unnatural. So then what we do is we go to the adjustments. I'm going to use curves. And I'm just going to make a very gentle adjustment from the middle of that line. I'm going to click. I'm going to drag upwards. That might be enough, but what I'm also going to do, I'm going to go to the greens on this. So I'm going to click there, go to the greens, and I might bring that down just a little bit, just to make that a little bit more natural. And I think that's enough. I think that's all we need to do really with that image. I'm still not happy about this part, so let's just go to the layers. Let's just look at this adjustment. I may bring the opacity of that down just a little bit, just to make it a little bit more natural. And then I'm going to flatten the image, merge that image down, duplicate this layer, and I'm just going to go with the spot removal tool and just try to see what that does in this area. Straight away it's looking better. Make this look a little bit more natural. Let's go with this payoff part as well. Let's just see if this works better. And it does, doesn't it? I think that looks nice. So I'm just going to do this area as well. It's just it repeats a little bit, so I want to be a bit careful. I'm going to do this area as well. Okay, I think that's looking good. Yeah. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is two things, because I think he may want the sky a little bit darker up, but I would probably stay with that. But let's just have a look. First thing, we need to select that, so I'm going to get the selection tool. I'm going to make this large. I'm going to click over the sky. Let's see if we can get it this way. Make sure I've got the add to selection there. This area probably. And this is going to be very, very slight. So adjustment, curves, from the middle, drag that down just a tiny little bit. That's enough for me. And now I think we've got a really nice balance on there. That's looking really good. So it's just practicing using the eye. I can do this easily because I do it over and over again, but it's just practicing and doing these little things. And I think that's looking great now. Just going to go. I'm going to merge these layers down. I'm going to flatten the image because I'm happy with that. I don't want to mess with it. I'm going to duplicate it once more before I sharpen it. So we'll go to Filter, Sharpen, Smart Sharpen. It's these trees really I'm trying to sharpen up. So let's just go to the amount here. I don't want to be messing with the shadows. We can go quite high with this and just bring the radius up to about 9. Click on OK. Now the nice thing about this is if I do go over the top, I can take the opacity of this layer down because we duplicated the layer. That's why I've done that. So we can always alter that. And usually that's the last thing I do is to sharpen the image. And I love that. So the man who took this, I will say his name, Neil Carter. It's a beautiful shot, and I think now with just those little adjustments, oh, I wish I'd took it. Well done, Neil. Great photo. Okay, so we have now got a great looking image, but let's say I wanted to do a few other little tweaks on there. I probably wouldn't. I'll be honest, I think it looks lovely like that. But things you could do, let's just look at the cloud. So if we look at the cloud, it's a little bit uneven. We've got a lot over the left and not much on the right. So let's just have a little play. I'm going to use the lasso tool. And I'm going to put a huge feather on this. So I'm just going to delete what we've got in there. And let's try 130. Now, it's trial and error this. It depends on your image and what the quality of your image is and the pixel depth and whatever. But we'll try this 130. And I'm just going to get an area of the cloud, this dark area here, and have a little play. So I'm going to draw an area like this. And you can see it rounds off because we've got this big feather on there. And then I'm going to copy that. So I'm going to go to, well, make sure first of all we're on, that's it, we're on the layer, that's it. So edit, copy, select, deselect, and go to the move tool. Now, what we've got to do next, we've got the two layers there. We need to go to edit, paste, and there's our bit of cloud, and you see it's quite transparent. And I'm going to move this along to here. So we're just bringing that cloud across a little bit. Let's just click on one of the tools there. And I've got a little bit of a join there, so what I'm going to do with that is I'm just going to use the lasso tool again, and I'm just going to drag here and press the backspace key, which will delete that area, just to take that harsh edge off. Select, deselect. So if we look at our layers now, and I click that off, you can see it's just bringing that cloud over a little bit and filling in a bit more of the sky, so we've got a bit more of an even picture. Let's try that again. So let's select a different area again. So we got 130. Let's try an area here. I need to make sure I'm back on this layer, sorry. So the middle layer, the background copy, edit, copy, and then edit, paste, select, deselect. There we go. Go to the move tool. Make sure that you haven't got auto select on as well. That's important, because if you have, you'll start moving all the layers around. And let's just have a look with this. So what I'm going to do with this is drag this. So I'm using the handles and I'm dragging it over to the right. Stretch it out a little bit. I'm going to bring this over here. Now, of course, I'm going a little bit over the top here, but it's just showing you what you can do. You could even go to a different picture and steal some clouds and bring them onto this one. And that just balances it out a little bit more. You know, makes it a bit more dramatic. So that's one thing you can do to sort of get a bit more of an image there, something more interesting, a bit more balanced in the sky. And that's looking pretty good. So then you would just flatten the image, layer, flatten image, and there we've got the completed thing. Now, just looking down at the right hand side, I'm still not happy with this corner. Just there's some shading on these rocks. Let's just get the spot healing brush tool and just take this out. I really don't like that. So take a bit of this out. So I'm just clicking. Okay, still not happy with this shadow. I just hate this bottom corner for some reason. Let's just try it out. That's better. That's more like it. So I'm just being a bit more heavy-handed. That looks nicer. Okay, so there we go. Complete. Very happy with that. It looks a great image. Stunning photograph. I don't know where it is even, but it's beautiful. Well done, Neil. All from me. Thanks for watching.